Getting stronger at presses is your number one priority for developing huge triceps in the long run. But it's not the only factor, and there's certain things we could do that further enhance the gains. Let's talk about that right now, starting with the grip width. I strongly recommend that you primarily use a close grip. Make that your new default. Make that your competition. So instead of shooting for a 315 regular bench, make the goal 315 close grip bench. Same for overhead press, same for weighted dip. We all know this is more of a tricep dominant style of pressing. It increases the range of motion. It makes the lockout much more difficult, modifies the leverages, and drops a good 15-30% on your exercise. That's not a bad thing. It's not taking away tension from your chest or your shoulders. It just means that your triceps have to work harder. In other words, correcting the weak link. If all you've been doing are these super wide benches and now you go to a close grip and you're weak as hell, well, maybe it's because your triceps are the limiting factor. So I want you to emphasize close grip presses instead, no matter the exercise it may be. And for variations, you can throw in neutral as well. If you're doing shoulder press or dumbbell press, tuck your elbows in completely. You may not notice the effects right away, but over time, as you get stronger, as you add 50, 100 pounds to all these exercises, you'll see big improvements compared to just doing this wide grip pressing all the time and treating close grip as a little fluff accessory on the side. So that's the number one thing we could do. Narrow out your presses for superior gains in the arms and longevity, because it all goes synergistically. And actually, all tips in this video go together. That said, the second thing you could do, preferably with a close grip, is overload training. What does this mean? Adding in the slingshot, which can include the standard or the bore, in addition to bands, chains, and pins or boards, whatever you decide to do. Some of you may think, oh, it's only for geared powerlifters. Complete nonsense. And even if it were true, who the fuck cares? Do you compete in powerlifting? Are you trying to get the best carryover, or are you trying to get huge fucking triceps? The fact of the matter is, when you modify the joint angles, when you change the strength curve such that your triceps have to work so much harder at the lockout, it does make it better in the long run. Overloads work. You'll get better triceps if you add in some overloads compared to doing zero whatsoever. Not saying it should become the majority of your training. Not saying you drop all your raw work, you're only doing bands now. But fuck, include a little bit. Like if you're going to do a 3-week wave for dynamic pressing, for example, doing your 50, 55, 60, put on some double mini bands or some chains. Just do it. It's actually better than the standard way. Or if you want to throw in a max effort rotation, maybe week 1 could be a close grip bench, week 2, close grip, low pin press, week 3, close grip bench with a slingshot, week 4, close grip bench with double mini bands. And you could rotate it through like that. Or you just do 3 weeks of raw pressing, 1 week with bands, or 3 weeks with bands, 1 week raw. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't have to be so black and white that you're only doing this one thing. In the long run, it'll be beneficial for strength development and overcoming plateaus. That's what it's all about, overriding the biological law of accommodation. Overload training does exactly that. So just do it. It'll spice up your training and your triceps are going to thank you for it. The next thing is adding in extensions. A lot of guys are half-assing this exercise because they believe that the compound movements by themselves are optimal. Listen, I'm all for it. The first 2 tips that I gave you are to get stronger at the presses in these variations. But it's not the only way of getting big triceps, nor it is optimal to exclude effective isolation work. Extensions are probably the best thing that you could do to further enhance your tricep gains. I recommend doing anything where your arm is behind your head. Something like a decline barbell extension, could be a straight bar and easy bar, even the overhead extension, or hell, even using cables and bands. Whenever you get that stretch on the long head, which can often be neglected with presses, that's what really maximizes the size. And even excluding the long head in general, getting that extra burn, getting that extra volume in the tris is always a great thing, especially if it's a weakness that's hindering your bench development. So throw them in at the end of your workout. You can just do 3 sets of 10 or whatever, and you're good to go. And induce progressive overload in the long run. If you can take your easy bar extension behind the head from 95 to 135, you will see big improvements in tricep size, while you'll then carry over to the close grip presses and overloads in general. So don't think that, oh, I'm doing the compounds, it's all good. No, not for optimal gains. And that'll bring me on to my next tip. Start throwing in more tricep pushdowns, not only to increase the volume that you're doing with the tris, but also to prevent injuries in the triceps and make you more tricep dominant in the long run, which is all synergistic with what I'm telling you here. Now, you can either do this before your workout, something like the mat winning warm-up, so like a 4x25 pushdown with a press to go with it as well, or you could do that at the very end. Now, what I used to do, and this worked really well, was 100 to 300 pushdowns every single session, with the bands in particular, or sometimes with a cable. I think that's a very good thing that you could do. So maybe your workout calls for a close grip bench followed by weighted dips, then you do a heavy extension, and then a push down 4 sets of 25. That setup right there will do so much for you in the long run. And then you can also do your connective tissue work at home. So 12 to 24 hours after a main workout, take a band, put on top of your power rack or a doorway mount or whatever, start repping out those band pushdowns. This will enhance your recovery, give you more volume in the tris, and prevent you from getting elbow pain from extensions. Listen, if a guy like me doesn't have elbow pain despite having hypermobility, there's no excuse for you. Because keep in mind, when I used to run minimalist programs, I did have elbow pain. Couldn't even do 5, 10-pound overhead extensions. Now I don't have any of those problems because of the connective tissue work and maximized programming, where I'm rotating the variations and isolating my fucking triceps. You should do the same for the best gains. And the final thing that I'll tell you, as something experimental, which might make a difference in the long run, is to include nucleus overload. So do 1 month, for example, of diamond push-ups every single day, or just close grip in general if it bothers your shoulders. Or do 1 month of push-downs every single day, 100 repetitions. And then take a week off, go back into regular training. I think this can make a difference for a lot of you guys. If you want a full breakdown of what nucleus overload entails, check out the interview I did with Megan of Team 3D Alpha, the creator of it, the originator.
Oh my God, I was getting messages. To this day, I'm still getting messages. They're like, man, I tried it on my calves. I tried this on my chest. I tried it on my biceps, my triceps. People making videos, showing me pictures, before and after pictures. This thing works. And I was like, pfft.
A lot of people are plagiarizing off him these days, renaming the term, not even giving him credit. Find that to be a damn shame. He's the OG. He's the real deal. Check out the interview I did with him if you want to know how this functions. Basically, you blast the triceps every day for extended periods of time. Then you take a week off, go back into regular training, might make a difference. So yeah, it's something experimental you could try out, but I think it will work. And on that note, those are my 5 major tips. I think it'll serve you very well if you follow maximized programming. So please keep me updated in the long run, and I look forward to seeing those epic gains.